Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Coffee Conversation Show powered by the Emerging India Forum TIFF and our technology partner Prime Infotech Solution. This is our the Emerging Professional series and today's theme is navigating code and culture, the journey of a developer. Today, I am Jolly Singh, the co-host at Coffee Conversation and associate at Prime Infotech Solution. Today, we have with us Pankaj Gupta, a versatile IT professional whose impressive journey spans diverse domains and technologies. Overpowering limitations, Pankaj's expertise resonates across various sectors, evidenced by his success in driving process improvements and implementing innovative solutions that earned him accolades across the globe. But it's not just about the wins. This is self-motivated individual fueled by an earnest curiosity has brought numerous critical projects to life and saved clients millions of dollars through his automation prowess. Join us as we unlock the secrets of Pankaj's story, uncovering the valuable lessons learned, the obstacles conquered, and the inspiring vision that fueled his future. This conversation promises a wonderful combination of wisdom, inspiration, and a testament to the spirit of innovation. Join us as we explore the journey of this visionary leader, both professionally and personally, and unravel the essence of his success. So, a very warm welcome to you, Pankaj sir. Um,
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me here, and thank you so much for your kind introduction.
it's our pleasure, sir. So today, like we will be having this in conversation, which is gonna be divided in three rounds. Which is like first is the personal professional questions round, and the second is the personal question round, and we will be ending the entire conversation with a fun rapid fire round. So let's get started with the very first professional questions round. And my very first question to you would be that can you in brief like tell us about your journey from initial days to now, how it has like unraveled, if we may say so.
Okay, so I've really been fortunate because I really feel that the journey has been very promising, and the journey has been very kind to me in terms of the learnings I have I've imbibed during my tenure, the people I've interacted with, the companies I've worked with, the clients I dealt with. So yes, it has been tough at times. Overall, it has been a roller coaster. And overall, when I look back, so there are certain things about which I feel I could have been better, I could have learned. There are certain things which I really feel proud of, the things I've accomplished, the people I have met. So overall, it has been a very fulfilling journey, a very accomplishing journey. And at the same time, there is a lot for me to look back and learn again, to reflect on it. And yes, it has been very enriching, and I really feel myself very fortunate to have gone through this.
So like how do you decide which technologies to use in a project if like we are talking about your professional work and everything, and can you
Right,
share an example of how this decision impacted a project's efficiency?
right. So it's a very prominent question which you always have in front of you whenever you want to implement a solution. So the first thing, first and fundamental requirement is to know the things, the knowledge about things, the knowledge about technology available in the market, and the knowledge of your problem statement. First thing is to understand your problem, so a problem statement with accurate precision. Second is you must know the things around, and when you combine these two, that is when you can evaluate the technology sets available and make a judgment whether your problem statement is a proper use case of any particular technology or not. So that's how you decide the technology stack you want to follow behind implementing a solution, because at that there are a couple of things which we want to make sure that you want to have an efficient and optimum solution. At the same time, you cannot do an overkill, neither in terms of technology nor in terms of cost. So thorough understanding of your problem statement and adequate knowledge of the technology sets available helps you in finalizing the technology stack, which you would final for a particular solution.
So, in your experience with IT consulting and custom software development, how do you approach making processes more efficient and automated?
Okay, so there are many things which I've learned over time, and I would like to quote something I read in one of the Google documentation is that you cannot fix people, but you can fix processes. So you have to put proper processes in place, and you have to put your brain towards automating things and removing manual intervention. So as long as there is a manual intervention, you would always have a risk of manual errors. So the more fine tune you can, the more you can fine tune your processes, and the more you can automate your solution in such a way that it involves human intervention only when it's about putting logic in place, or doing high level things. As long as mundane things are concerned, routine things are concerned, you have to automate it, and you have to keep in mind that you have to eliminate the design should be such that you remove the possibility of manual errors as much as possible.
Absolutely, sir. You integrated a vulnerability management tool,
Right.
reducing vulnerable code. Can you explain the impact on system security and any challenges you face during the integration?
Right. So, okay. I was part of the core team working on this, and there were many people who were, taking charge of different sections in this particular project. Coming to my part, the idea of this particular, solution which we implemented, it was more about that prevention is better than cure. So our idea was that once the project has gone live, and at the end moment, at the last moment, if you discover that the code is having some vulnerabilities, then it's a nightmare to roll back things at the last moment. So that was the idea, that you catch the things beforehand before going to live. So that was the idea of it, and as I said, it was more about it was about that prevention is better than cure. The challenges as such were only technical, again fine tuning your technology set. And yes, at times it was a challenge to deal with developers, because at times you encounter scenarios wherein you have to push back the code, and you have to tell the developers that your code is having this vulnerability, so you better redo it with a different way. So that was a challenge, but yes, we had to tell developers that at the end it's still better than rolling back a code which has already gone live.
Uh, how has automating processes like VM creation and database management improved the efficiency?
It has improved the efficiency by removing the manual intervention, manual work, and saving man hours. So you save a lot of man hours by implementing such solutions which are pretty much straightforward in nature. You do not need a lot of intelligence every time you want to do it. So when there is a special case, people can always intervene and do it manually. But the achievement in this kind of processes was to remove manual errors and save the man hours, so that they can be utilized elsewhere in some other efficient tasks.
Okay, so like with a background in comparative mythology, how does this academic interest complement your technical expertise in software development?
Well, there is no direct correlation between the two backgrounds. These two are non-related things as such, but definitely it has really helped me become a to be more mature as a person. And it's about you learn different things. So when you explore things, you develop perspective around things. So it overall adds to your subconscious, your overall level of maturity to read the situations. So overall, it's like I would like to quote one of my colleagues who told me that you cannot always remember 100% of everything, but at the same time, you do not always forget 100% of everything. So whatever you learn, whatever you do, there is always a residue, and you would not know that when then that small residue or a small bit would eventually get adding up, and will add an overall level of fine tuning to your thought process. So it was about learning different narratives and how it enhances your overall maturity. Besides, I would like to take this question at the end, if time permits, because it has more to do with my personal thoughts than a professional career.
Sure, sir. Like, please proceed. Okay.
uh, yeah.
So like working at Tata Consultancy Services, what lessons about the process improvements and database management still impacts your work today?
Okay, so those the first and foremost lesson I learned there was the importance of processes. that why it is important to have processes in place, because TCS itself is a big company, and they have a huge workforce, and the client for which we were working, that was also a very renowned and established client. So it was a very value-adding experience for me working there, and I joined there as a junior. So there were so many people around, seniors, and then mid-level people, and then as you grow up, then you have juniors working under you. So overall, I learned a lot about dealing with clients, about importance of processes, how to put processes in place.
So like, how do you keep abreast of the technology changes? It's such a dynamic world to be in right now.
That's a very interesting question. So that is one thing about IT industry, which it is about how you look at it. It is one of the biggest pros, and at the same time, it could be one of the con also. The thing is that this industry is highly dynamic. It's highly dynamic. So uh, you have to keep yourself updated. You have to keep learning. You have to carry that passion to build things, the passion to learn, passion to solve problems, and the humility to still keep learning, and keep yourself updated with the latest technology, coming technology trends, reading good journals, following good articles, following good and impactful blogs about engineering. So that's how about it, but that is the key. You have to keep yourself updated, otherwise you will soon be outdated.
As an emerging entrepreneur, what advice would you give to aspiring developers looking to make their mark in the industry?
uh, okay, so coming to development in particular, I would like to say that IT industry is a huge world, and at the same time, it has so many small worlds within, right? So coming to development, as I said, IT industry is very huge, but and there is a variety of work happening, right? So if you go to a hardcore service-based company, you have a different environment there. If you go to a product-based company, you have a different environment there. If you go to a company with very good workforce like 2,000, 3,000, 5,000, or 10,000 people, it's a different environment. If you go a workplace which has minimal workforce like 10, 20 people, it's a different world altogether. So, and it is growing with very rapid pace, and there is so much work happening, and there is so much variety of work happening, right? So there is a lot of work happening around using the existing tools and technologies for your solving your problem statement. At the same time, there is another world where hardcore engineering and hardcore development is happening, where their problem statement itself is to develop new things, right? So for people who are starting as developers, my humble advice would be to identify where your expertise, or where your interest is, where exactly you want to go, and accordingly we have to pick your starting point. So for example, if someone who is aspiring to go into the field of data science, then Python programming language might be a good choice for him. But if someone wants to go into hardcore programming, hardcore development, where actual solutions are being developed, so for example, we are using this Zoom as a tool to have this conversation. So there is a different level of engineering which is happening, where people are working to develop those kind of tools. So if you want to go in that direction, then Python may not be a good choice for you to start learning. Then you might have to probably rethink, and C++ could be your ideal solution, or ideal programming language from where one should start. So it's very important to understand that where the interests are getting aligned, and then you have to have a lot of passion. You have to go through the grind. You have to put in a lot of effort. You have to learn a lot, because as I said, this industry is highly dependent on your tech skills as well. As you grow up the ladder, your interpersonal skills do matter, but this is something which is purely dependent on your tech skills as well. So you have to have those tech skills. So there is no substitute for hard work. You have to go through that grind, learn, and have a good mentor in place, and at the same time have a good understanding of system design. That really helps.
I am sure, sir, the people have noted, the audience has noted every advice that you have made. Very last question for this particular round, sir, that how do you maintain a vibrant work culture and what values or principles guides your approach to leadership?
Okay, when coming to leadership, I must say I'm a huge fan of MS Dhoni. He is a kind of inspiration for me because what he has done is one of the toughest jobs in the world to lead Indian cricket team for such a long period of time in so many different formats, right? So the way I look at leadership, see, it's not about getting things done, right? It's not about just putting systems in place, asking people to follow guidelines or prescribing things or mandating things. It's about involving people, right? It's about giving them good reasons to work. It's about keeping them engaged constructively, and it's about empowering them so that when they are empowered, they end up empowering the whole team, right? So you have to start from the scratch. You have to think about empowering people so that indirectly your team gets empowered. Team cannot get empowered unless people working within the team are not empowered. So it's about empowering them. It's about providing them a conducive environment wherein they can also excel as an individual upon as per their strengths. So
Uh,
that's how
so
I look at it.
Okay, sir. So, sir, that is it for the professional questions round, and now we are on our way to the second round, which is the personal question round. And my
Mhm.
first question to you for that would be like, can you share a bit about your early life and what initially sparked your interest in technology?
Okay, so I come from a small town and a very modest and humble background. So, and I was naturally curious towards learning things right from the childhood. That's what I've been told by others that I've been curious about. I've always been curious about learning things. I always found a very positive environment in my family. I am very lucky to be born in a very God gifted family, I must say. My father, my mother, my sister all have been my backbone in my childhood. So luckily, I was lucky enough to have a very good family. So I always, found it. The environment was always conducive that I could dream of something for myself, right? And I could aspire for certain things. Having said that, I was. I was, you can say, good or above average in studies, and I was able to find a comfort with mathematics. So that's how it came to choosing the subject after year 10th. And then once I started seeing things around, once I started seeing how technology works, what role technology plays in our lives, so many things work, like how TV works or how satellite works. So com- uh, you know uh, as I mentioned, I was always curious about exploring things, and when I got drawn towards technology, trying to understand things. So that's how things came together. And I thought that coding is something where you get the privilege of building things, no matter how small they are, but you do build things.
Absolutely, sir. So, like, how do you like to spend the quality time with your family outside of your busy schedule?
You always have to find ways. So as an individual or as a person, I'm not really very outgoing or like typical party animal type. But definitely I try to find time. So I just seize the opportunity as and when it comes. So whenever there is an occasional gathering, in family or in social circle, I always try to make it a point to go and not miss it. Besides, I like meeting near and dear ones. I like keeping in touch with them over calls when as per occasions and all. Most importantly, as I said, that I've been really blessed with a very good family. So I always found that environment very light in my family. I never had to push myself ki I have to find time. So in short, whatever time I had, that was most of the time by default. It was a good time. I had to make an effort to make it a good time. Besides, yes, having a decent sense of humor, good intent always helps. So I always feel that you just have to naturally follow the course of things, and things will take shape. You might not always have to go and do things explicitly.
Absolutely, sir. You are absolutely correct. So, any hobbies or interest that brings joy to you and balances your life, especially outside the world of coding, if we are talking about?
Right. So there are a couple of things which fascinate me, and in fact, I feel thankful that those things came to me and they really helped me because at times, as you said, you really need a break, right? And taking a break does not always mean you leave everything and go to an isolated place. That is not always workable. So I turn on for good music. I good music is always very. I found it very helpful and relieving. Besides, I really like reading good books. At times, I write also, and since you mentioned about mythology in the previous section, so that is something which always drawn my interest. So that is also something I try to keep doing, keep exploring, keep learning around it. So those are the couple of things which where I you can say I find solace.
Beyond tech, any favorite books, movies, or hobbies like you are currently very much passionate about? Like writing and reading is something you like you mentioned. So, is there anything?
Well, there are so many good books. There is one old classic which is very famous, Animal Farm. That is one of my favorites. Which one book which I would recommend to the audience, which is again my favorite, is Mindset by, if I'm not wrong, it is by Dr. Carol Dweck. Mindset is the book which is one of my favorites, which has really helped me understand and navigate through. Animal Farm I mentioned is one of my favorites. Sapiens is another one of my favorites. Coming to movies, I am not a very I'm not too much into watching movies, but whatever I have watched, I would like to quote OMG. Oh my God, is one of my favorites that really helped me, to have a different perspective around things. And another movie I would like to quote is the Batman series, the original one, which came initially in the trilogy. Especially the first two movies of that trilogy, they are like my all-time favorites coming to movies.
What's your favorite travel destination or a memorable journey? Is if there is any that stands out in your mind?
I like traveling. I like going to places, and I've been fortunate to have visited so many places around India and outside India also. To answer your question, I would like to quote a recent trip to Vaishno Devi with my family. So, with my immediate family, my parents, sister, and wife. So that is one of the very blissful and memorable memories for me.
Is there any particular quote or motto that resonates with you and inspires your daily life?
That's a very interesting question. And in fact, thank you for asking me that question. I would indeed like to quote something, and I would also love to elaborate a bit over it. So, humility is one of the virtues which has always drawn my attention, and I always aspired that irrespective of the material success, humility is something which I would always want to be associated with, and I want to carry with me. So while trying to read around this thing, there I read many things. So many CEOs tried doing different things. One of the CEOs also mentioned that I used to clean the toilets myself to remind myself that privileges may not always last. But then the act of doing a small thing again made me feel that okay, I'm very modest. So initially I thought that there is no perfect answer, but then I came across something, and it was mentioned by Naval Ravikant. I'm not sure where exactly I read it, maybe over Twitter or somewhere, and I'm also not sure if it was originally quoted by him or he again quoted someone. But that one line solved this thing for me, solved this puzzle for me, and it was like the last nail on the coffin. It was like nailing on the head. And one simple, profound statement, one simple line which he mentioned was that real humility is unaware of itself. And when I read it, I realized that this one line is having immense gravity, and it is teaching a lot, and it has stuck with me ever since. So I was able to relate directly to that experience with which I mentioned few moments ago about that CEO doing mundane things, but he was not able to get rid of that feeling that he is doing things, right? So that's how I realized that quote motivated me. And the magic of that quote is that it does not end with humility itself. I realized with time that it goes around every virtue you want to pursue. So the way I look at it and the way it is, it came to me, or the way the perspective I got with time around this is that whatever you want to pursue in your life, especially whatever virtue you want to pursue, you cannot, it has to be unaware of itself. It means you cannot carry that conscious awareness of carrying it with you. So, for example, if you want to be helpful to people, just be helpful to them. As long as you carry that conscious awareness that I'm helpful, you are not helpful in true sense. So, whatever virtue you are trying to pursue, as long as you are carrying that conscious awareness that I'm doing this thing, you can never discover the purest and highest form of that particular thing. So, that is the magic of it. And another profound discovery I did it is that it magically aligns with an age-old saying that "Neki kar and darya mein dal." Right. So I was also awestruck that how beautifully it aligned with it, and the gravity of and the magic of the brevity, that how age-old proverbs say a lot in very few words. So that's how it is. If you want to do something, you have to forget it. As long as you keep that thing in your mind that you are doing it, you will not be able to discover it in its purest form. Another thing that it still does not end here. Another parallel I would like to draw from here is that it does not end at virtues. It actually goes very far in anything you want to do in your life. I am able to relate to it in terms of my coding also. That if you want to code something, code till the point you don't feel that you are coding. It should become a part of your normal. Whenever we talk about practice, we often say कि इतना practice कर लो, practice as much that even if someone wakes you up at 3 a.m. in the morning and asks you, you don't have to think over it. It should become a part of you. It should become a part of your subconscious, right? So that is another parallel which I was able to draw, and that's how I found that particular quote very profound, and it has not left me since. I cannot avoid thinking about it.
Uh, okay, sir. Sir, any upcoming personal or professional goals that you are very excited about achieving?
Uh, to be honest, I'm not that bucket list kind of person. But yes, traveling the world excites me. I want to travel as much as possible within India, outside India, and see and explore places around. And success-wise, yeah, professional goals-wise, I have certain things which I cannot explain right now, but I have a dream of coding them. So, yeah.
Okay, last question for the personal round question, and that would be like, if you were asked to describe Pankaj in one line, what that line would be?
I would like to ask you if you can try something after having this brief interaction with me. If you would if you would like to attempt it.
I might try that, like, after like having this conversation, what I can summarize of you as an individual would be like, very professional, very enthusiastic, uh, um, uh, down to earth, and like very much motivated and dedicated to his work. That is like what I would be thinking about when I will listen to your name.
Okay. Okay. So my turn. I would borrow it from one of my friends. I got the compliment once from my friend, and that has stayed with me. That was a very touching compliment, which for me, and that was still waters run deep. So I'll borrow that compliment and pass it on as it is as an answer to your question.
Uh, Great, great. Okay, so like, I know I said like this would be the last question to you, but like, I just like one more question just popped up in my head, and I'm like very much interested to ask you the very last question. You like mentioned about your interest in mythology and everything, so would you like to like discuss something about it, like share some bits and parts of it with our audience?
Sure. Like we mentioned during the professional round questions also, that it has more to do with how I have learned to think over time. So mythology, I always had interest from the very beginning, from the childhood itself, and the time when we only had DD, Doordarshan or DD National. We do not have cables and other channels, so we were having handful of options to watch. So that was also one of the reasons in the childhood I got exposed to, I got in touch with those things, and it eventually drawn my attention. And I've been lucky that I was able to keep in touch with that. I was able to pursue my interest. I also ended up doing a course in it for 2 years from Mumbai University. And in fact, there only I got that compliment which I passed on to you as your answer to the last question of your personal round. So now, coming to a question, it has always helped me learn and navigate through life whenever I found challenging situations. And for me, it's a treasure trove. So there are so many stories around. And I try to draw a lot of learning from there. I always found some level of relevance irrespective of the times we are in. So there is an element of timeless learning there. I see that as a treasure trove, and that's why we call it, that Indian mythology has stood the test of time, that it is still alive, because there is an element of timelessness. Certain things are timeless. So the first thing I would first thing is that it humbles you down, because I would like to quote an incident from Mahabharata. In one of the so you know about the dice game that which Pandavas lost and then they went to exile. So that is the learning I derived, that whatever are your whatever is happening in your personal life, whether it's whether your success, your failures, or your struggles, you should not let them get into your head. They may be very big for you, but they are big only for you. They may be first time for you, but they are first time only for you, not for anybody else, right? So no one probably would give a damn about them after a point of time. So there is no point being too serious about them. There is no point getting letting get things to your head, right? So I relate to it, to the principle of humility which I always want to achieve. So that is one of the subtle purposes of those tales, that and especially when you are in trouble, or when you are dealing with your failures and struggles, there is no point of quantifying your problems, that how big your problems are or how rare your problems are. The only good thing which can come out of it is that if others have gone through it, then maybe you can learn from their experience and that how others solved it. But besides, there is simply no point trying to quantify your problems or trying to measure your problems or struggles, that how big or small they are. It doesn't matter. The only thing matters that they are there and you have to solve them. How you solve, that's where your attention should go, because at times we are lost in that thought process, that my problems are very big or my struggles are never ending. It is just a distraction. Quantifying your problems or whatever is happening in your life, if you quantify that how big or small it is just a glorious distraction. It is not going to solve any purpose. The subtle purpose is to find solutions and move on. So that is a learning I derived from the stories, that humble down, don't take yourself too seriously, right? Another incident which I would like to quote, since we already talked about Mahabharat, so I would like to quote another incident again from the forest, when Pandavas were in forest. So there was another incident when Duryodhan was held captive by a few people, and the point which Yudhishthir discussed within his family or with his brothers is that whatever is the internal feud is internal, right? For the outside world, we are still 105 brothers, and we should remain as we are in front of the whole world, irrespective, regardless what differences we have. For the outside world, we should always remain 105 brothers. So Yudhishthir actually sends Bhim and Arjun for helping Duryodhan out, that in our presence, no external enemy should be able to harm him. So that's a tremendous lesson I've learned about family values and family bonding, that how broaden you have to make your perspective if you want to take people along, if you want to go far, There are always shortcuts, and shortcuts will always be tempting, right? You will always find easy solutions in shortcuts, but if you really want to go far, if you really want to take people along, that's how broad your vision should be. So that is a very fundamental learning for me. And another thing I would like to mention about Yudhishthir is that, whenever we talk about Mahabharata, there is always lot of discussion happening around the heroics of Arjuna, around the heroics of Krishna, and the heroics of many big warriors, etc. And Yudhishthir mostly has been on the receiving end for the people, because many people are not able to relate to his principles. Many people feel that he's too much by the book and he is not practical and all that. But one thing which strikes me, the way I look at it, it's just one perspective. It's not about being right or wrong. I may be completely wrong about it, but the way I look at it is that he earned Lord Krishna's mentorship, right? So if you are a Yudhishthira in true sense, you will find your Krishna, you will find your Arjuna, and you will find your heaven, right? So you have to identify yourself and understand what applies to you, what path you want to pursue. If you keep changing your direction every now and then under external influences, you are not going to reach anywhere. So the biggest compliment in my understanding for Yudhishthira is that he earned that Krishna mentored him or counseled him or whatever he did to make them win, right? So that's another thing. And that is, the beauty about mythology, that you can have endless perspectives, right? There is no one single thing. So we all talk about relativity, that nothing is absolute, everything is relative. So I find live examples there, that how everything is relative and how you can always have different perspectives, and most importantly, how you can always learn without being judgmental. You do not need to be judgmental to learn about things, right? And nor you can afford to make all mistakes by yourself. Of course, it is important to do things, to make your hands dirty at times to learn things. You cannot. There are so many things which you simply cannot learn by reading. You have to do, but not all things are to be done by yourself, especially mistakes, right? So there is so much to learn from there. Besides, one last thing which I would like to mention from mythology is that there is a description of an event called Samudra Manthan, in which I would like to brief it for the audience, that it's about churning the ocean, because people believe that there are so many treasures hidden under the ocean bed, and they cannot be extracted out just like that. So there is no way but to churn the ocean. So now, if you have to churn the ocean, you need something to churn. So then, Mount Meru or Mount Mandar is taken as the churning rod. Now you need something which can bear the weight of a mountain. So Lord Vishnu takes Kurma avatar and holds the weight of that mountain on his back. That becomes the churning rod. And at the end, the god of serpents is taken as the churning rod. The churning rope. The one end of which is pulled by the devtas, or what we call celestial beings, or you can say positive forces, and another side of the serpent is held by the negative beings, which we in that context call as asuras or daityas. And then they do the churning of the ocean, and then things come out, right? So it was primarily done to extract the nectar of immortality, or amrit, which was believed to be hidden deep under the sea. But that was not the only thing which came out. In fact, that was the last thing which came out, and so many other things came out first in the process. So the way I look at it, and the way it really helped me understand the perspective I built around it with time, that it is very metaphoric, in the sense of every individual, that if you want to bring the best out of you, you have to go through the process of churning yourself. That's the way I look at it, that it's a metaphor of churning your own self. You would not know what all is hidden inside you unless you will churn yourself, right? And if another thing which catches my attention is that so many things come out of Samudra Manthan. Amrit comes at the end, right? So the best of you will only come at the end. So you have to go through the grind. You have to complete the process. As I mentioned a few moments back, also, that at times you will find easy shortcuts. At times you will find quitting very easy, very peaceful, very relaxing, very convenient. But it doesn't end there. If it ends there, then your process is complete. You will not be able to achieve or extract the best out of you. Most Another most important thing which I noticed there is that before right before the final output of the Amrit came out, another thing came out was the poison, right? And then there is a story that no one was able to consume that poison, and people had to find a way to deal with it, otherwise it would destroy everything around. So then that's when Lord Shiva came into picture and he consumed that poison, and finally it paved the way for Amrit to come out. So I literally look at it in a metaphoric way that it's about churning off an individual to bring the best out of him. The best is not going to come out very easily. If you want to bring the best out of you, you first have to prepare to face the worst. You will first have to prepare yourself for the worst, that when the worst comes out, how are you going to deal with it? Unless you do not learn to deal with it, you will not be able to pave the way for enjoying the best. Another thing I noticed as a metaphor is that everything is important in the universe, right? We often blame the negative forces that they cause destruction, or whatever it is. But this particular incident is an example that how balance is restored, how everything is required to maintain that fine balance. And when you want to do the churning, it is so. Since I mentioned about this thing, so churning was done by devtas on one side and asuras on the other side. So that is also the role of your virtues and your vices, which create you or complete you as an individual. No one can only be with vices, no one can only with virtues. Right? So your virtues and your vices are there, a part of you, they complete you. At the same time, that is not to be taken as an excuse that you are not supposed to work on your vices. You have to work on your vices to keep improving yourself, but it's about the how the holistic things are, how holistic perspective is, how everything is important, in the grand scheme of things, and how you have to be inclusive of everything. So uh, with that, I'll bring this thing to an end. So that's how these are just couple of things. Besides, I have always found something or the other for my reference or for my help whenever I have looked into. And needless to say, not just this aspect. Now science is also able to correlate with whatever mentioned in our ancient text in terms of cosmology, in terms of multiple universes, in terms of time travel. So in all, it's a treasure trove, beat anything.
Absolutely, sir. And thank you so much for the lovely insight about our mythology, Indian mythology. So, like, this is it for the personal questions round, and we are moving to our last round for the conversation, which is the fun rapid fire round. I would be like asking you short and simple questions, like you can
Please be
like
kind to me.
yeah, I will be definitely very kind to you. It's nothing very serious. So let's get started. Coffee or tea?
Tea, anytime.
Mountains or beaches?
Mountains to see.
Favorite?
Mountains look good as long as you don't have to climb them.
Definitely,
Yeah.
definitely.
So beaches. To answer your question, beaches,
Okay,
because I
sir.
can walk around freely.
Okay, okay, sir. Like favorite snack while you are coding?
Favorite snack while I'm coding? Well, you feel like munching anything, but I would like to munch over dry fruits.
Early bird or a night owl?
Struggling between the two, you can say. That's
Top,
the
top.
honest answer. But
Yes,
I want to align myself with the morning routine, because uh, definitely I find it a bit tough, but overall I find it more rewarding. It's just a matter
absolutely,
of trying to align with that. So it's one of my aspirations, that or you can say
absolutely.
one of the goals I'm trying to, that I want to be a hardcore morning person.
Okay, okay. Like all the best for the same, sir. Top three must-have apps on your phone. Like,
UPI app first, because with this cashless thing. So and then any app for good music. Um, that is a must-have for me. Uh, and then at times another top three, which I would always have WhatsApp. That app is like by default. Needless to say.
okay. If you would have to have dinner with any, like, any famous person or any icon that you would refer to, like who would it be?
Sachin Tendulkar, anytime.
A motto or a quote that inspires you, like a very short one.
Uh, Inspires me. I already mentioned it in the
Yeah, yeah,
personal
yeah,
round,
yeah.
but I would like
Anything
to
else?
quote two lines which I coincidentally wrote some time back. That's how I try to, have my philosophy in simple words around my life. And it has two simple lines I wrote long back. I would like to quote that बुझ तो एक दिन सबने जाना है, राइट? जैसे हम दिया जलाते हैं ना, तो दिया बुझ जाता है एक
हाँ
टाइम के
जी,
बाद। तो
बिल्कुल।
बुझ तो एक दिन सबने जाना है, पर बुझने से पहले मुझे जी भर जल जाना है। तो
Like very,
दैट्स हाउ।
very humble and sweet words. Very humble and sweet words. Sir, one thing on your bucket list.
ट्रैवलिंग एंड एक्सप्लोरिंग प्लेसेस।
Okay. Any upcoming tech trends you are very excited about?
I'm excited about how AI is, in which direction AI is going to be, and what next, what big next.
Um, That is like great, sir. Like that is it for our today's conversation. Thank you so much for giving us your valuable time. This had been has been a very wonderful experience, and I hope you enjoyed this as much as we enjoyed having you on this show. I again thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule and doing this session with us. It was like very, we are very honored to have you on board. Thank you so much, sir.
Before we put the conversation to an end, I would like to take this opportunity and moment to again express my gratitude to Almighty, to my family, because I really owe it big time to my family. Everyone in my family is a hero for me. My father, my mother, my sister, and I've been very lucky to have a very lovely wife as well. So all of them are heroes for me, and really feel lucky to be surrounded by them. Uh, 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 my father, I must mention, is my hero because he has been an epitome of humility for me, an epitome of kindness for me, right? And I can talk on and on about my family members because all of them are, really, I really feel God gifted to be born among them. My mother has a very godly persona of her own. My sister has been the, backbone of my family, and really, uh, I don't know what to say, but I really owe it to her big time for pushing myself, beyond the
I,
boundaries whenever it,
I
uh,
completely understand your feeling. It's like very
yeah,
tough to like draw the feelings into words. I completely like understand
yeah,
what you
yeah.
really.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and my father is always has always been my hero. His humility, his kindness is something, I always found it fascinating because the kind of the journey they had, the way we saw things in childhood. That is something very divine for me. I wish everyone have God bless everyone with those kind of parents. The way they brought us up, and the kind of things they inculcated within us, they tried to teach us. That is mind boggling for me. I cannot put that into words. And I cannot stop talking about my father because when it comes to a simple, see, the best thing I would like to mention about my parents is that they are not into big jargons. They have never they are not, they do not belong to any school of thoughts, the so-called school of thoughts, or so-called big words or fancy, not fancy, but they have not been too much into, like, someone who have pursued anything in great detail, right? Like spirituality, or any particular Vedic philosophy or whatever. But despite all that, they carry that fundamental virtue of being humble and being virtuous. And my father has been really an epitome for this, because when it comes to no matter how much hardships he has gone through or he has been having through, he always have that thing in his mind that he's always able to relate to the problems of others. He has that element of kindness in him. He is always cognizant about what others might be going through. And in my observation, no one comes too close to him. Is like simply miles apart, miles and above and beyond. That's all I can say. And that has been, you can say, the base of where I stand today, and that's how things have taken shape for me. So the conversation could not have ended for me without a mention for them. And
Um,
thanks to you for being a wonderful host, for giving me the opportunity to express myself, for being very patient, on the answers wherein I kind of elaborated a bit. So the experience has been very joyful for me also. I really found it very interesting, very exciting, and I felt very happy while discussing what I think and sharing my thoughts. So the pleasure is all mine, I must say.
same here, sir. Same here. So for our audience, please stay tuned to watch this and many other interesting conversations episode on YouTube, the Coffee Conversation Show. Please subscribe to the channel, leave your feedback, and we are like watching everything and taking notes of everything. Please look forward to another interesting guest for our coffee conversation show with yet another speaker with yet another interesting theme, and we will be back very soon. Thank you so much for joining, everyone. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, our lovely audience, and we would be back very soon. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much once again, and best wishes to you and your entire team for the wonderful what you are doing. I wish you all the success in your efforts and endeavors.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.